6 months after the Battle of New Haven, Fleet Admiral Ji-Wan Park stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Starbase Unity, humanity's first permanent installation in alien space. Through the massive windows, she could see ships from 47 different species docked at the station's many ports. The transformation had been remarkable. What started as a desperate rescue mission had become the foundation for a new era of galactic civilization. Humans had not conquered the galaxy. Instead, they had accidentally become its protectors, teachers, and friends. Admiral, Dr. Hana, Kim approached with her daily report. The cultural exchange programs are showing incredible results. We now have over 2,000 humans living and working on alien worlds, and almost as many aliens studying on Earth. Park smiled as she watched a group of young Velkari students following a human engineer around the station's docking bay. The aliens no longer flinched when humans moved quickly or spoke loudly. They had learned that these terrifying Deathworlders were actually gentle giants who went out of their way to help others. What about our military cooperation programs? Even better than expected. The Corvani Defense Force has adopted our shield harmonics technology, and the Thurian Collective is using our sensor designs in their new exploration ships. More importantly, 12 species have formed the Allied Defense Pact, promising to help each other against any future threats. The changes hadn't been limited to military technology. Human engineering teams had helped terraform 3 dying worlds, saving billions of lives. Human doctors had revolutionized galactic medicine by introducing concepts like preventive care and emergency surgery. Human teachers had shown alien children that learning could be fun and adventurous. Most surprisingly, humans had given the galaxy something it had never known: hope. On New Haven, the colony had grown from 50,000 refugees to over 200,000 beings from dozens of different species. It had become a symbol of what was possible when different peoples worked together. Feltar, now an honorary human citizen and cultural advisor, walked through the bustling streets with wonder. The old Velkari scholar stopped at a playground where human and alien children played together. A young human boy was carefully teaching a group of Carrion children how to climb a tree, patiently showing them each handhold and making sure they didn't fall. Remarkable, he murmured to his companion Zephyhi. 6 months ago, we thought humans were mythical death gods. Now our children play with their children as if they were all one species. Do you regret summoning them? Zephyhi asked. Veltar watched as the human boy helped a small Carrion girl reach a particularly difficult branch, his face glowing with pride when she succeeded. Never. We asked for guardians, and that's exactly what we received. We just didn't understand what real guardians looked like. Back on Earth, General Min-jae Choi was reviewing applications for the new Terran Defense Corps, humanity's first truly interstellar military force. The applications came not just from humans, but from aliens who wanted to serve alongside the species that had saved the galaxy. General, his aide reported, we have 3,000 Skarn warriors requesting to join the Corps. They say they want to learn how to fight for protection instead of conquest. And War Chieftain Skarnder? He's requested permission to establish a Skarn colony on one of our frontier worlds. He says his people want to learn what he calls the human way of living. The transformation of the Skarn Empire had been one of humanity's greatest diplomatic victories. Instead of destroying them or ruling them, humans had helped them find new purposes. Former Skarn raiders now served as escorts for refugee ships. Skarn engineers used their skills to build hospitals and schools instead of weapons. Skarn warriors trained alongside human marines, learning that true strength came from protecting others. Dr. Kim, now Director of Interspecies Relations, had documented these changes in what became the most widely read book in galactic history. Understanding Humanity, a guide to Deathworld psychology, was required reading in every major university and government building. The key insight, she wrote, is that humans are not naturally violent. They are naturally protective. Violence, for humans, is a tool used only when protection requires it. This is why they can be both the most dangerous warriors and the most compassionate healers in the galaxy. The book helped explain why humans did things that other species found incomprehensible. Why human parents taught their children to fight, then taught them when not to fight. Why human soldiers trained for war while hoping for peace. Why humans would risk their lives for complete strangers without expecting any reward. Admiral Park was reviewing these philosophical questions when Lieutenant Minho Choi, now her chief communications officer, approached with an urgent message. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Andromeda sector. A species called the Villani is under attack by something they call the Swarm. They're requesting immediate assistance from the Deathworld Guardians. Park looked at the message and smiled. The Villani were a peaceful aquatic species from a water world. They had probably never imagined they would need to call for military help. But they had learned what the rest of the galaxy now knew. When innocent people were in danger, the humans would come. Signal the fleet, she ordered. All available ships are to prepare for immediate departure. And send a message to the Villani. Terra Nova fleet launching in 12 hours. Help is on the way. As word of the new mission spread throughout the starbase, something beautiful happened. Ships from dozens of different species began requesting permission to join the rescue mission. The Allied Defense Pact members wanted to help. Former Skarn raiders volunteered their services. Even civilian vessels asked to assist with refugee evacuation. Captain Wu Jin Ko, now commanding his own ship, received a message from his mixed-species crew. Captain, his Velkari science officer reported, the entire crew volunteers for this mission. We want to help save the Villani. Even though it might be dangerous, his Thurian engineer laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a breeze. Captain, we've been learning from humans for 6 months. You've taught us that some things are worth taking risks for. As the massive rescue fleet assembled, over 100 ships from dozens of species, Admiral Park realized that something wonderful had happened. Humanity hadn't just become the galaxy's protectors. They had taught the galaxy how to protect itself. The fleet jumped to hyperspace carrying humans and aliens working together toward another world in need. Behind them, they left a galaxy that was safer, stronger, and more hopeful than it had been in millennia. On New Haven, Veltar stood in his library, now expanded to include texts from dozens of worlds, and added a final entry to his journal. Today marks 6 months since I performed the summoning ritual that brought the humans to our world. I thought I was calling for mythical guardians to save us from destruction. What I actually did was introduce the galaxy to its teachers, the Kar. Humans have shown us that strength without compassion is meaningless, that courage without kindness is empty, that the willingness to fight for others is the highest form of civilization. We called them Deathworld Guardians, and they have proven worthy of the title, not because they come from a world of death, but because they have learned that some things are worth dying for, and more importantly, worth living for. The galaxy is no longer a place where the strong prey upon the weak. It has become a place where the strong protect the weak, where different species help each other grow, and where no one has to face danger alone. We asked for guardians, and we received teachers. We asked for protection, and we received friendship. We asked for salvation, and we received something even better, hope for the future. The humans are not gods or mythical beings. They are something far more valuable. They are good neighbors. As Admiral Park's fleet raced toward the Andromeda sector, ready to face unknown dangers to save unknown people, the old Velkari scholar's words proved prophetic. The galaxy had, indeed, found its guardians, not in mythical beings of pure power, but in a species that had learned the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the best way to show your strength is to use it to help others be strong too. The human age of the galaxy had begun, and it would be an age of protection, cooperation, and hope, just as it should be. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours of the battle at New Haven, every major civilization knew that something impossible had happened. The mighty Skarn Empire fleet, 40 ships strong, had been destroyed. In 7 minutes by 12 unknown vessels. Prime Counselor Velthera of the Galactic Coalition sat in her council chamber on the capital world of Nexus Prime, staring at reports that made no sense. She was a tall, elegant being with silver skin and 4 arms, representing the Altarian species that had led the coalition for over 3 centuries. "Tell me again," she said to her intelligence chief. How many human ships were involved in this battle? 12 ships, Prime Counselor, against a full Skarn battle fleet. And the human casualties? None reported, ma'am. In fact, they seem to have gone out of their way to minimize Skarn casualties as well. Most of the enemy crews were captured alive and are being treated as prisoners of war. Velthara's four hands drummed nervously on her desk. In 300 years of coalition history, no one had ever defeated a Skarn fleet so completely. What do we know about these humans? Very little, Prime Counselor. They claim to come from a world called Earth, which our databases classify as uninhabitable. They seem to have technology far beyond anything we've encountered. And most disturbing of all, they appear to be helping the refugees at New Haven, for no apparent benefit to themselves. No benefit? What do you mean? They're not demanding tribute, territory, or resources. When the Velkhari offered to pay them for their protection, the humans seemed confused by the concept. Their Captain Park actually asked why anyone would charge money to help people in danger. Meanwhile, Ambassador Jae-hyun Lim was having the strangest diplomatic meeting of his career. He had been Earth's first interstellar ambassador, a job that mostly involved preparing for theoretical first contact scenarios. Now he found himself sitting in a hastily arranged video conference with representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. Ambassador Lim, Prime Counselor Velthara began carefully. The Coalition would like to officially welcome humanity to the galactic community. We're impressed by your species' capabilities. Thank you, Prime Counselor. We're honored to meet you and your people. We do have some concerns, however. The level of military technology your fleet displayed is unlike anything we've seen. Our scientists are having trouble understanding how such weapons are even possible. Lim tried to look reassuring. I understand your concerns, but I want to assure you that humanity seeks only peaceful cooperation with other species. We have no interest in conquest or domination. A new voice joined the conversation. Zethkar, the Contemplative, representative of the Corvani Republic. Ambassador, 3 of our member worlds have already sent formal surrender documents to your government. They want to join something they're calling a Human Protection Alliance before you decide to conquer them anyway. I'm sorry. What? Limu looked confused. We haven't conquered anyone. Why would they surrender? Because, another voice chimed in, your species just did something that was supposed to be impossible. The Skarn Empire has been expanding for 50 years. No one has been able to stop them, and you destroyed their entire fleet in 7 minutes. Back at New Haven, Captain Ji-won Park was dealing with her own diplomatic crisis. The colony was in chaos, but not the kind she had expected. Instead of celebrating their rescue, many of the refugees seemed terrified of their saviors. Dr. Hana Kim approached her with a concerned expression. Captain, we have a problem. The refugees are afraid to come near our ships. Some of them are asking if they should evacuate the planet before we decide to claim it for the Human Empire. Human Empire? Park shook her head. Dr. Kim, please, explain to them that we're not here to conquer anything, we just wanted to help. I've tried, Captain, but they can't understand our motivations. In their experience, any species powerful enough to defeat the Skarn would immediately take over the territory they'd defended. Captain Soo-hyun Park, Ji-won's sister and commander of the science vessel Harmony, was conducting her own research into galactic civilization. What she found was both fascinating and disturbing. Ji-won, she reported during their daily briefing, I think we have a fundamental misunderstanding about how this galaxy works. Every species we've encountered evolved, from prey animals, herbivores, filter feeders, scavengers, but no predators. What does that mean for us? It means we're the first predator species to achieve spaceflight in this galaxy. Every other civilization is naturally peaceful because aggression was never necessary for their survival. They literally can't understand why we would risk our lives to help strangers. The cultural differences were becoming more apparent every day. Woo Jin-ko, a civilian volunteer who had helped establish communications with the refugees, found himself accidentally becoming a cultural ambassador. The Velkhari keep asking me why humans are willing to die for other people, he told Dr. Kim. When I explained that we consider it our duty to protect those who can't protect themselves, They asked what deity commands this behavior. What did? You tell them? I said no deity commands it. We just think it's the right thing to do. That seemed to confuse them even more. The confusion spread throughout galactic civilization as more species learned about humanity. The Thurian Collective sent a formal message asking if humans would consider becoming their eternal protectors in exchange for half their planet's resources. The Carian Federation submitted a detailed proposal for humanity to rule their entire star system, arguing that beings of such power should naturally govern lesser species. Ambassador Lim was getting dozens of similar offers every day. Admiral, he reported to Earth Command, we have 12 different species offering to become our subjects, 3 civilizations wanting to hire us as mercenaries, and 2 worlds that have started worshipping us as gods. Admiral Sungjin Kang, reviewing the reports from his office on Earth, rubbed his temples wearily. Ambassador, please explain to them that we're not interested in ruling anyone. We just want to be good neighbors. I've tried, sir, but they don't understand the concept. In their minds, strength equals authority. Since we're clearly the strongest species they've ever encountered, they assume we must want to rule the galaxy. The situation became even more complex when the Skarn Empire officially surrendered, not just their fleet, but their entire civilization. War Chieftain Skarnder, now a prisoner aboard the Indomitable, requested a meeting with Captain Park. When she arrived at his cell, she found him kneeling on the floor with his head bowed. Deathworld Guardian, he said formally, the Skarn Empire submits to your authority. We offer our complete surrender and beg for mercy. War Chieftain, please stand up. You don't need to kneel to anyone. Skarnder looked up in confusion. But you defeated us completely. By the laws of conquest, we are now your subjects. That's not how humans do things, Park explained patiently. We don't want to rule you. We want you to stop attacking innocent people and find peaceful ways to meet your civilization's needs. You're not going to enslave us? Destroy our homeworld? Take our resources? Of course not. We'll help you establish peaceful relations with other species and find ways to solve your resource problems without warfare. Skarnder stared at her for a long moment. What kind of beings are you? Dr. Kim had been studying this question from a scientific perspective. Her research revealed something remarkable about galactic evolution. Captain, she reported, I think I understand why we're so different from other species. Every other intelligent race in this galaxy evolved on what we would consider garden worlds. Planets with mild climates, abundant resources, and few natural dangers. And Earth? Earth is what happens when intelligence evolves under constant threat. Every day on our planet, our ancestors faced predators, natural disasters, disease, and resource scarcity. We developed intelligence not for philosophy or art, but for survival. So we're different because our world tried to kill us every day? Exactly. And it made us into something the galaxy has never seen. A species that's both incredibly dangerous and incredibly protective. We fight not because we enjoy it, but because we've learned that sometimes violence is necessary to protect those who can't protect themselves. As the weeks passed, humanity's reputation grew throughout the galaxy. Stories spread of the Deathworld Guardians, who appeared whenever innocent people were in danger. Pirates began avoiding systems with human patrol ships. Aggressive empires reconsidered their expansion plans, and peaceful species started to believe that maybe, for the first time in galactic history, someone was watching out for them. The coalition formally invited humanity to join as a guardian species, a new classification they created specifically for Earth. The invitation came with both great honor and great responsibility. Ambassador, Prime Counselor Velthara explained, we're asking your species to become the protectors of galactic civilization, not its rulers, but its guardians. Will humanity accept this responsibility? Lim thought about his home world, where humans had fought for centuries to protect each other from every kind of danger imaginable. He thought about the Terra Nova fleet, risking their lives to save people they'd never met. He thought about what it meant to be human. Prime Counselor, he said quietly, we've been preparing for this job our whole existence. The Skarn Empire fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 414-2 system, like a swarm of angry metal insects. 40 warships, each 1 kilometer, long and bristling with energy weapons. War Chieftain Skarnder stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Fang, and smiled at the sight of the peaceful colony world spinning slowly ahead of them. "Begin standard conquest formation," he commanded. "All ships prepare to broadcast surrender demands to the colony. This should be over in less than an hour." But as his fleet moved toward New Haven, something unexpected happened. Space itself seemed to shimmer, and suddenly 12 ships appeared around the Skarn fleet, as if they had materialized from thin air. "War Chieftain," his sensor operator called out in alarm. "Unknown vessels have surrounded our formation. They appeared without any hyperspace signature. I don't understand how they got there." Skarnder studied the tactical display. The human ships were smaller than his warships, but there was something unsettling about their design. They were dark, angular, and covered with what looked like weapon systems that didn't match anything in galactic databases. 12 ships against 40, he mused. Either they're incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Jiwon Park watched the Skarn fleet through her tactical screens. The Terra Nova fleet had used their experimental stealth systems to get into position undetected, and now they had the Skarn ships exactly where they wanted them. "Captain," Lieutenant Minho Choi reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead Skarn vessel." "Put it on screen." War Chieftain Skarnder appeared on the main display. He was a large reptilian creature with scarred hide and cruel yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice was full of arrogance and contempt. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with a legitimate conquest operation of the Skarn Empire. Withdraw, immediately, or be destroyed." Captain Park stood and faced the screen. Her voice was calm and steady. "I am Captain Jiwon Park of the United Earth ship Indomitable. You are threatening innocent civilians under our protection. I'm giving you one chance to withdraw peacefully." Skarnder laughed, a harsh sound that made several bridge officers wince. "Humans? I've never heard of your species. You have 12 small ships against 40 of our finest warships. You cannot be serious about fighting us." "I'm completely serious," Park replied. "Last chance, leave now or we will remove you." "Remove us?" Skarnder's eyes gleamed with amusement. "Little human, let me educate you about the realities of galactic warfare. Ships this size typically carry energy weapons with a range of 50,000 kilometers. Standard tactics involve positioning at maximum range and exchanging fire until one side's shields fail. The side with more ships almost always wins." Captain Park nodded politely. "Thank you for the lesson. Commander Lee, are all ships ready?" "All ships report ready for combat, Captain." "Very well. Begin Operation Gentle Tap." What happened next would be talked about in galactic military academies for centuries. Instead of the expected long-range energy weapon exchange, the human ships did something that had never been seen in space combat before. They accelerated directly toward the Skarn fleet at impossible speeds. "Evasive maneuvers," Skarnder shouted, but his ships were too slow. The humans were moving faster than anything should be able to move in a tactical situation. The human ships didn't slow down as they approached. Instead, they opened fire with weapons that seemed to break every rule of space combat. Instead of energy beams, they launched physical projectiles. Massive tungsten rods accelerated to incredible velocities by magnetic fields. The first salvo hit 3 Skarn ships simultaneously. The kinetic projectiles punched through their energy shields as if they weren't there, tore through their armor like paper, and caused massive internal explosions. All 3 ships were disabled in seconds. "Impossible," Skarnder screamed. "Energy shields are supposed to stop all attacks." "War Chieftain," his tactical officer reported in a shaking voice. "Their weapons aren't energy-based. They're using kinetic projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Our shields are designed to deflect energy attacks, not solid objects moving that fast." The human fleet split into 4 groups and began attacking from multiple directions. Their ships moved in ways that defied everything the Skarn knew about space combat: rapid course changes, sudden accelerations, and maneuvers that would crush any normal crew from the gravitational forces involved. Commander Jin Woo Song, captain of the destroyer Soul's Fury, led his ship in a diving attack on a group of Skarn vessels. "Fire pattern Delta," he ordered, calmly. "Let's show them what a real space battle looks like." His ship launched a spread of missiles that didn't just fly straight at their targets. These missiles were smart. They dodged incoming fire, changed course to confuse point defense systems, and coordinated their attacks to hit multiple ships at once. When the missiles struck, they didn't just explode. Some released clouds of metallic chaff that jammed sensors. Others created electromagnetic pulses that disabled electronic systems. A few carried nuclear warheads that created miniature suns in space. Within 5 minutes of the battle starting, the Skarn Empire fleet had lost half its ships. The remaining vessels were in complete disarray, their formation broken and their crews panic-stricken. "This is impossible," Skarndur raged. "No species fights like this. Where did you learn these tactics?" Captain Park's voice came over the communications channel, still perfectly calm. "War Chieftain, this isn't even a real battle by our standards. We're using training exercises and being very careful not to hurt your crews unnecessarily." "Training exercises?" Skarndur looked at his tactical display in horror. His mighty fleet was being torn apart by what the humans considered practice maneuvers. Senior Chief Hyejin Bey, leading a boarding party from the assault ship Busan Strike, was demonstrating another aspect of human warfare that the galaxy had never seen. Her team used teleportation technology to board damaged Skarn vessels and capture their crews alive. "Remember," she told her team over the comm, "these are prisoners of war, not enemies. Standard Geneva Convention rules apply. Medical aid for the wounded, respectful treatment for all captives." The Skarn soldiers they encountered were completely unprepared for close-quarters combat. Their weapons were designed for the formal, long-range battles typical of galactic warfare. When faced with humans in powered armor using tactics developed from centuries of brutal warfare on Earth, they surrendered almost immediately. "Please don't kill us," one Skarn officer begged as Bey's team secured his ship's bridge. "We yield. We surrender." "Nobody's going to kill you," Bey replied through her helmet's translator. "You're wounded. Medic, get this soldier some medical attention." The Skarn officer stared in amazement as a human medic began treating his injuries with gentle efficiency. This wasn't how conquest was supposed to work. Victorious warriors were supposed to kill or enslave the defeated, not offer medical care. Back on New Haven, the colony's population watched the battle through their telescopes and sensor arrays. What they saw defied all their understanding of space combat. The human ships moved like living creatures, striking with precision and power that seemed almost magical. Tikhal the Wise, one of the colony's eldest residents, stood in the observation dome with tears streaming down his ancient face. "In all my years," he whispered, "I never imagined such beings could exist. They fight like forces of nature itself." The battle lasted exactly 7 minutes from first shot to final surrender. When it was over, the mighty Skarn Empire fleet was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship had taken significant damage, and human casualties numbered exactly 0. War Chieftain Skarndur found himself standing on his own bridge, surrounded by human soldiers who had somehow appeared there without triggering any alarms. Captain Park materialized beside him using the same teleportation technology that had brought the boarding parties. "War Chieftain," she said politely, "I'm placing you and your forces under arrest for attempted genocide and piracy. You'll be treated according to the rules of war, which means you'll receive medical care, proper food, and fair treatment." Skarndur looked around at his captured bridge, then at the tactical display showing his ruined fleet. What are you?" he asked in a broken voice. "We're humans," Park replied simply. "We come from a world that taught us to survive anything, and we've decided to use that ability to protect people who can't protect themselves. But the power you showed, the weapons, the tactics, no species should be capable of such destruction. War Chieftain, you haven't seen destruction. What you saw today was us being very, very careful not to hurt anyone unnecessarily. This was us showing restraint." As news of the battle spread across galactic communication networks, An entire civilization was forced to confront a new reality. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. Dr. Hana Kim had been talking with the Velkari for 3 days when she decided to share some basic information about Earth. She thought it would help build trust between their species. She had no idea she was about to give the aliens nightmares. For weeks. "So Veltar," she said during one of their video calls, "let me tell you about our home world. Earth is a beautiful planet with blue skies and white clouds." The old Velkari scholar nodded politely. "It sounds lovely, Dr. Kim. What is the weather like?" "Well, it varies by season. In summer, some places get over 40 degrees Celsius. In winter, it can drop to minus 40 degrees. Of course, that's not counting the extreme areas." Veltar's ears drooped. "Extreme areas?" "Oh yes, we have deserts, where the temperature reaches 55 degrees, hot enough to kill most humans in a few hours without protection. And polar regions where it gets so cold that exposed skin freezes in minutes." Dr. Kim smiled cheerfully. "But people live in both places anyway. Humans are very adaptable." HFY, who was listening to the conversation, made a choking sound. "On their world, temperature varied by maybe 10 degrees throughout the entire year." "What about storms?" Veltar asked weakly. "Oh, we get some amazing storms. Hurricanes with winds over 300 kilometers per hour. Lightning strikes that can kill you instantly. We get about 25 million lightning strikes every year. And tornadoes that can destroy entire towns in minutes." Dr. Kim pulled up some videos on her screen. "Here's footage from Hurricane Maria a few years ago, and this is from the tornado outbreak in Oklahoma. Isn't nature incredible?" The Velkari stared in horror at the images of destruction. And people live through these events?" "Most of the time, yes. We've learned to build better shelters and early warning systems. Though we still lose a few thousand people each year to severe weather. It's just part of life on Earth." Back in his library, Veltar was frantically taking notes while HFY looked up more information about Earth in their databases. What they found made the weather seem mild by comparison. "Veltar," HFY whispered, "listen to this. Their planet has moving ground plates that sometimes crash into each other, creating massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Some of these volcanoes can destroy entire regions and change the planet's climate for years. Surely they avoid these dangerous areas?" "No. Some of their largest cities are built right next to active volcanoes and earthquake zones. They just accept the risk." Meanwhile, Dr. Yun-Soo Cho, the fleet's psychologist, was studying the alien responses to human culture. She had noticed that every time humans mentioned anything about Earth's environment, the aliens showed signs of severe stress. "Captain," she reported to Park, "I think we have a problem. These aliens are showing classic symptoms of anxiety disorders just from hearing about our normal living conditions." "What do you mean?" Watch this recording of Veltar when Dr. Kim mentioned that humans go outside during thunderstorms. His heart rate spiked, his pupils dilated, and he started breathing rapidly. He had what we would call a panic attack just from imagining being outside during a lightning storm. Captain Park reviewed the footage. "But that's just normal weather." "Exactly. To us, it's normal. To them, everything about our world sounds like a death trap designed to kill anyone foolish enough to live there." The situation got worse when the human fleet conducted their routine training exercises. Master Sergeant Daeho Shin was running combat drills with his Marines in the ship's cargo bay. The exercises were broadcast throughout the fleet so other units could observe and learn. "Remember," Shin called out to his troops, "pain is just weakness leaving the body. If you're not getting hurt during training, you're not training hard enough." The Velkari were monitoring these transmissions, and HFY nearly fainted when he saw human soldiers deliberately throwing each other to the ground, hitting each other with padded weapons, and practicing techniques designed to disable or kill opponents. "They're hurting their own people," he gasped. "For practice." "And look," Krixhai pointed to the screen. "The ones who get injured just get back up and keep fighting. That human just had his nose broken by his partner, and he's laughing about it." Veltar watched in fascination and horror as Sergeant Shin demonstrated a combat technique called a chokehold. that could render an opponent unconscious in seconds. They train to kill each other, and they call it normal exercise. The cultural exchange continued, with humans trying to be friendly and aliens becoming more terrified by the hour. When Yejinam, a civilian engineer, mentioned that she enjoyed rock climbing for fun, the Valkyrie couldn't understand why anyone would voluntarily climb dangerous heights for entertainment. "Let me show you," Yeji said helpfully, pulling up videos of her free climbing a cliff face without safety ropes. "This is from my climb of El Capitan in Yosemite. It's about 900 meters of vertical rock face." 3 Valkyrie scholars fainted during the video. Dr. Kim tried to reassure them. "Don't worry, rock climbing is very safe when done properly. We only lose a few dozen climbers each year out of millions who participate." "Only a few dozen deaths?" Veltar asked in a tiny voice. "Oh, that's just from climbing accidents. More. People die from lightning strikes while golfing." "What's golfing?" "A sport where you hit a small ball with metal clubs, often played outdoors during thunderstorms." The Valkyrie began to understand that humans did dangerous things for fun. This was a concept so alien to them that their language didn't even have words for it. Commander Kyung-Ho Lee made things worse when he casually mentioned Earth's wildlife during a conversation about planetary ecology. "Oh yes, we have some impressive predators," he said proudly. "Bears that can weigh 800 kilograms, big cats that can leap 15 meters and run 70 kilometers per hour, sharks with rows of razor-sharp teeth. And that's not counting the smaller dangerous species, poisonous snakes, spiders, whose bite can kill you, jellyfish that cause excruciating death. And humans live alongside these creatures?" Krixai asked. "Some people keep them as pets," Lee replied cheerfully, "though you need special permits for the really dangerous ones." That night, the Valkyrie held an emergency council meeting. Representatives from all 12 refugee species gathered in the colony's main hall to discuss what they had learned about their saviors. "We may have made a terrible mistake," Veltar announced to the assembled crowd. "The beings we summoned are indeed from a death world, but they're not magical guardians. They're survivors of the most dangerous planet ever discovered, a Thurian." Elder raised a tentacled limb. "What does this mean for us?" "It means," said Zephi, "that we've invited creatures to our world who consider volcanic eruptions and predator attacks to be normal parts of daily life. Beings who hurt each other for practice and think extreme weather is entertaining. Are they coming to conquer us?" asked a young Corvani. Veltar considered this. "I don't think so. In all our conversations, they seem genuinely concerned about our welfare. They're clearly capable of incredible violence, but they only speak of using it to protect us from the Skarn." "So they really are guardians?" "Yes, but not the kind we expected. They're not mythical beings of pure power. They're living creatures who have survived on a world so hostile that it turned them into the ultimate warriors. And now they're coming, here to our peaceful little colony, to fight a war we can't even imagine." Across the galaxy, the Skarn Empire was also learning about the approaching human fleet. Their intelligence networks had intercepted some of the transmissions, and War Chieftain Skarndur was reviewing the data with his tactical advisors. "These humans claim to be coming to defend the Valkyrie colony," one advisor reported. "Their fleet consists of 12 vessels with approximately 15,000 individuals." Skarndur laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the command chamber. 15,000? We're bringing 40 ships with 500,000 warriors. What threat could these unknowns possibly pose? But as his analysts dug deeper into the intercepted data, they began to find disturbing information. The human ships used technology that didn't match anything in galactic databases. Their weapon systems were based on unknown principles, and, strangest of all, they seemed to have no fear of death in combat. "War Chieftain," his chief analyst reported nervously, "these humans appear to be from a Class Thutith death world. Our databases indicate such worlds are theoretically impossible to inhabit." "Then our databases are wrong," Skarndur declared. "No. Species could evolve on a true death world and still develop spaceflight. These humans are probably just another weak species trying to appear dangerous." He was about to learn how wrong he was. The Terra Nova fleet moved through space like a school of metal fish, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. 12 ships in total carried 15,000 humans toward a meeting that would change everything. Captain Ji-won Park stood in her ready room studying reports that grew more concerning by the hour. "Captain," Lieutenant Minho Choi's voice came through the intercom, "we're receiving more transmissions from the alien source. Dr. Kim says she's made a breakthrough in the translation." Park made her way to the bridge, where Dr. Kim was surrounded by screens showing alien text and mathematical formulas. The young scientist looked excited but also worried. "Captain, I've been able to translate much more of their language. The situation is worse than we thought. The aliens call themselves Velkari, and they're not just one species. They're refugees from 12 different worlds. They've built a colony called New Haven that houses 50,000 people." "And this Skarn Empire?" Park asked. "From what I can understand, they're a military force that conquers planets for their resources. They've already destroyed 6 colonies this year. The Velkari expect them to arrive at New Haven within days." Chief Engineer Soo Bin-yoon looked up from her workstation. "Captain, I've been monitoring our communications array. The aliens have been listening to our transmissions. They're hearing everything we say to each other." Park raised an eyebrow. "What exactly have they been hearing?" "Well, yesterday you and Commander Lee were discussing battle formations. The day before, Master Sergeant Shin was talking about acceptable casualty rates for urban combat. And this morning, Lieutenant Torres was explaining to the new ensign why we always pack extra medical supplies for when things go badly." Dr. Kim pulled up another screen. "Captain, I've been tracking their response patterns. Every time we mention anything related to military operations, their signal strength spikes. I think they're getting more and more excited about us coming." Back on New Haven, Veltar was having a very different reaction. He sat with his assistant Zeph Hai and several other scholars, listening to the translated human communications with growing alarm. "They speak so casually about death," Zeph Hai whispered. "Listen to this recording. One of them mentioned that their morning exercise routine includes combat training in case we need to kill someone today." Veltar's long ears drooped. "And here, their leader discussed something called rules of engagement, which seem to be guidelines for when it's acceptable to destroy entire ships." Another scholar, Crix High Stormcaller, was frantically searching through their databases. "I found more information about their homeworld. It's classified as a Class 2 or Deathworld, the highest rating in our system." "What does that mean?" Veltar asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "It means their planet is so dangerous that most galactic species would die just from visiting it. The database says their world has extreme weather patterns, aggressive predator species, toxic atmospheric variations, and geological instability. It also notes that any species evolving on such a world would necessarily develop into extremely resilient and adaptable survivalists." Zeph-Hai pulled up more data. "There's more. Their planet has something called lightning storms that can destroy buildings, moving air masses called hurricanes that flatten entire regions, and the ground itself sometimes shakes violently in events called earthquakes. But surely they've learned to control these things?" Veltar asked hopefully. "No," Crixhai said quietly. "According to their own transmissions, these events still happen regularly, and they just live with them. One of their messages mentioned someone was excited about the storm season starting." Meanwhile, on the Indomitable, Dr. Kim was making discoveries of her own. She had established a basic communication link with the aliens and was learning about their culture. What she found surprised her. "Captain, these Velkari are fascinating. They seem to be naturally peaceful. Their entire civilization is built around art, philosophy, and scientific research. They've never fought a real war in their recorded history." "Never?" Commander Kyung-ho Lee asked. "How is that possible?" "Their world apparently has no large predators, no extreme weather, and very few dangerous plants or animals. They evolved from creatures that grazed peacefully in meadows. Conflict was never necessary for their survival." Captain Park studied the alien ship designs Dr. Kim had received. "Their technology is impressive, but look at these vessels. No weapon systems, minimal armor, and the power systems are designed for efficiency, not combat." "It gets more interesting," Dr. Kim continued. "I asked them about their military capabilities, and they didn't understand the question. When I explained what I meant, they seemed horrified that anyone would build machines specifically to hurt other people. Back on New Haven, the scholars were discovering more disturbing facts about their approaching saviors. "Listen to this," HFY said, playing another human transmission. One of their engineers was explaining how they test their equipment by breaking it until it fails, then making it stronger. She said this was normal procedure. And here, HFY added, their medical officer was discussing treatment for something called training injuries. Apparently, their people regularly hurt themselves while practicing for combat, and this is considered acceptable. Veltar was beginning to understand what he might have done. "We called for guardians from the Death Realm. We thought it was mythology, but these beings, they really are from a realm of death. Their entire world is trying to kill them every day, and they've learned to fight back. The question is," HFY said slowly, "are they coming here to save us or to conquer us like the Skarn?" On the fleet flagship, Chief Engineer Yoon was making modifications to their ships based on what they'd learned about Skarn technology. "Captain, I've analyzed their weapon systems from the database the Velkari shared with us. The good news is our shields should hold up well against their energy weapons." "And the bad news?" Park asked. "Their ships are designed to fight opponents who use similar technology to what we saw in the Velkari database. Slow, lightly armored vessels with basic energy weapons. They've never faced anything like our kinetic projectile systems or nuclear warheads." Master Sergeant Daeho Shin joined the conversation. "Captain, if I understand this correctly, the Skarn fight wars the way we might play chess. Formal, predictable moves with rules everyone understands." "That's right," Dr. Kim confirmed. "Galactic warfare seems to follow very specific patterns. Ships line up, exchange energy weapon fire at long range, and whoever has stronger shields usually wins. Very civilized." Sergeant Shin grinned. "Ma'am, with respect, there's nothing civilized about the way humans fight wars." Captain Park nodded slowly. She was beginning to understand that humanity was about to make quite an impression on galactic civilization. "Dr. Kim, have you explained to our new friends what kind of help they can expect from us?" "I've tried, Captain, but I'm not sure they understand. When I mentioned that we have weapons capable of destroying entire cities, they thought I was speaking in metaphors. When I explained that every human child learns basic combat skills in school, they asked if I meant dancing or sports. They can't even imagine actual violence," Commander Lee observed. "To them, the idea of intentionally hurting someone is so foreign they can't process it literally." Lieutenant Choi looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm receiving a priority message from Earth Command." Park read the message and smiled. "Admiral Kang says, and I quote, 'Establish peaceful relations with alien species. Use minimal force necessary to resolve situation. Try not to scare them too much." The bridge crew chuckled, but Dr. Kim looked concerned. "Captain, I think Admiral Kang doesn't understand what we're dealing with. These aliens are already terrified of us and we haven't even arrived yet. When they see what we consider minimal force, they might panic. Then we'll have to be very careful about how we handle this," Park decided. "We're not just making first contact. We're potentially becoming the protectors of an entire galactic civilization that has never seen real warfare." As the fleet continued its journey through space, both humans and aliens prepared for a meeting that neither side fully understood. The humans saw it as a rescue mission, a chance to help innocent people who were in danger. The aliens saw it as the arrival of mythical beings from their darkest legends, creatures so powerful they could reshape the balance of the galaxy. Neither side realized that they were both right. The old Velkari scholar Veltar sat in his dusty library, surrounded by ancient books that few could read anymore. His long fingers moved across the yellow pages of texts written thousands of years ago. Outside his window, the peaceful colony of New Haven buzzed with normal life. Children played in the gardens while their parents worked in the crystal mines that made this world so valuable. But Veltar knew this peace would not last much longer. The Skarn Empire was coming, and they wanted New Haven for themselves. The Skarn were known across the galaxy as brutal warriors who took what they wanted and destroyed everything else. They had already wiped out 6 colonies in the past year. New Haven would be next. The colony leaders had tried everything. They sent messages asking for help from the Galactic Coalition, but the Coalition was too far away and too weak to fight the Skarn. They tried to hire mercenaries, but no one wanted to fight the Skarn Empire for any price. They even considered running away, but 50,000 refugees from 12 different species called New Haven home now. Where could they all go? That's when Veltar remembered the old stories. Deep in the most ancient texts, there were legends about beings called the Deathworld Guardians. These creatures were said to come from a realm of pure death and destruction. They were so powerful that just one of them could destroy entire fleets. The stories said they would answer calls for help, but only when all hope was lost. Most scholars thought these stories were just myths. But Veltar had found something interesting in the old precursor ruins, a strange machine that could send messages across impossible distances. The precursors had vanished millions of years ago, but their technology still worked sometimes. Maybe, just maybe, he could use it to call the Deathworld Guardians. Veltar worked for 3 days straight, connecting the ancient machine to the colony's power grid. His assistant Zeph brought him food and water, but the old scholar barely noticed. He had to get this right. If the Guardians were real, this might be their only chance. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Captain Jiwan Park stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable. The ship was huge, over 2 kilometers long and carrying 3,000 crew members. It was the flagship of the Terra Nova Deep Space Fleet, humanity's most advanced exploration force. They were currently on a routine patrol mission in empty space, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of alien life. Captain Park was a calm woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. She had been exploring space for 20 years and had never found anything more exciting than some space rocks and dead planets. Earth scientists were sure that alien life existed somewhere, but so far humans seemed to be alone in the universe. "Captain," called Lieutenant Minho Choi from the communication station. "I'm picking up some strange signals. They're not coming from any of our ships." Park walked over to look at the displays. The signals were unlike anything they had seen before. They seemed to be using quantum entanglement technology that humans were still trying to understand. "Can you figure out where they're coming from?" "It's hard to tell, Captain. The signals are bouncing through space in ways that shouldn't be possible. But I think they might be coming from outside our local star cluster." Dr. Hana Kim, the fleet's chief scientist, hurried over to examine the data. She was young but brilliant, specializing in xenobiology, the study of alien life that might exist. "Captain, these patterns, they look artificial. And there's something else. The signals contain mathematical sequences that suggest intelligence." On New Haven, Veltar had finally activated the ancient machine. It hummed with power as strange lights danced across its crystal surface. He began to chant the words he had found in the old texts, words in a language so old that only a few scholars could still speak it. "Guardians of the Death Realm," he called out, his voice echoing in the empty library. "Beings who walk in shadow and bring justice to the darkness. We are dying. Our people face extinction. Please, if you exist, if you can hear us, help us. Save us from those who would destroy everything we have built." The machine responded, sending his desperate message racing across the galaxy faster than light itself. The signal bounced off ancient relay stations left by the precursors, growing stronger with each jump. It traveled through dimensions that normal space travel could not reach. On the Indomitable, the signal suddenly became much stronger. Lieutenant Choi's instruments went crazy as information flooded in. "Captain, I'm receiving what looks like it might be a language. Dr. Kim, you need to see this." Dr. Kim's hands flew over her computer as she tried to make sense of the data. "It's definitely a language, but unlike anything in our databases. The mathematical structure is fascinating. Whoever sent this is very intelligent. Can you translate it?" Captain Park asked. "Give me some time, but Captain, there's something else. Buried in the signal, I'm detecting references to something called Deathworlders. That's what some of our theoretical models call planets like Earth. Worlds that are so dangerous that they create extremely tough life forms." Captain Park felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying someone out there knows about Earth?" "I'm not sure. But Captain, I think this might be a distress call. Hours passed as Dr. Kim worked to decode the alien message. Slowly, words began to appear on her screens. The message was desperate and pleading. Someone named Veltar was begging for help from beings he called Deathworld Guardians. His people were going to be attacked by something called the Skarn Empire. They had nowhere else to turn. Captain, Dr. Kim said quietly, they're asking for help. And somehow they seem to think we're these mythical guardians they've been looking for. Captain Park stared at the translated message for a long time. This could be the first contact with alien life that humanity had been dreaming of for centuries. But it was also clearly a military situation. Her fleet was equipped for exploration, not war. She thought about the 50,000 innocent lives mentioned in the message. She thought about her duty as a Starfleet officer to protect those who could not protect themselves. She thought about what history would say about the moment humanity decided whether to help or turn away. Commander Lee, she called to her second-in-command, signal the fleet. All ships are to prepare for immediate departure. We're changing course for the Kepler 442 system. Captain, that's over 800 light-years away. It will take us 3 weeks at maximum warp. Then we better get started. Dr. Kim, keep working on that translation. I want to know everything about these Skarn and what we're flying into. As the Terra Nova fleet changed course, their powerful engines bending, space itself to carry them across the galaxy, Veltar sat back in his library chair. He had done all he could. The message was sent. Now he could only wait and pray that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Deathworld Guardians had heard his call. He had no way of knowing that his desperate prayer had reached exactly the kind of beings he had hoped for, just not in the way he expected. The humans coming to help were indeed from a death world, and they were indeed guardians. But they were also something the galaxy had never seen before. Warriors who fought not for conquest or glory, but simply because it was the right thing to do. The stage was set for first contact, and neither humans nor aliens were prepared for what was about to happen.